The wedding doors burst open just as the minister smiled at the bride and groom. Every head turned. Crystal chandeliers shimmered above a ballroom filled with billionaires, politicians, celebrities, and business executives, but the sudden silence swallowed every whispered conversation. Sophia Bennett stepped inside wearing a simple black dress. She wasn't dressed to compete with the bride. She had come to deliver a message. Lucas Harrington's face drained of color the moment he saw her. Beside him, Diana Bennett, Sophia's own stepmother, tightened her grip on his arm, though her smile never disappeared. The minister cleared his throat awkwardly. "Miss, this is a private ceremony." Sophia smiled politely. "I won't interrupt. I'll only take a few seconds." She walked toward the gift table, placed a cream-colored envelope among the expensive presents, then turned to leave. Lucas finally found his voice. "Sophia, wait." She stopped but didn't face him. "I came to congratulate you," she said calmly. "After all, not everyone gets the chance to marry the woman who helped destroy their engagement." A ripple of uncomfortable murmurs spread across the ballroom. Diana laughed softly. "You always did enjoy dramatic exits." Sophia slowly turned. "No, Diana." Her voice remained calm. "This is my entrance." Without another word, she walked out of the ballroom. The heavy doors closed behind her. Inside the envelope was only one handwritten sentence. "The throne you're celebrating today belongs to someone you haven't even noticed." The wedding guests looked at one another in confusion. Lucas frowned. "What does that even mean?" Diana snatched the note from his hand before anyone else could read it twice. Her confident smile faded for the first time. Because she understood exactly what it meant. If you're already wondering who truly owns the throne, make sure you subscribe, like this video, and stay until the end. The biggest betrayal hasn't even been revealed yet. Outside, rain began falling over the city. Sophia stood beneath the hotel entrance, closed her umbrella, and looked back at the brightly lit ballroom one last time. 6 months earlier, she had imagined herself walking down that aisle. Instead, she had spent those 6 months uncovering secrets. Secrets powerful enough to destroy an empire. 2 years earlier, Lucas Harrington had knelt beside a quiet lake with a diamond ring in his hand. "I don't want forever with anyone else," he had whispered. Sophia had laughed through happy tears before saying yes. At the time, Diana had hugged them both. "My beautiful daughter is finally getting everything she deserves." Sophia believed every word. After her father, Michael Bennett, died unexpectedly in a car accident 3 years earlier, Diana had become the only family she had left. She trusted her. She cried on her shoulder. She even asked Diana for advice whenever Lucas seemed distant. That trust became the weapon used against her. Whenever Lucas canceled dinner because of work, Diana would sigh sympathetically. "He's under pressure. Billionaire families are different." Whenever Sophia wanted to delay the wedding until she completed a children's healthcare project, Diana nodded supportively. "I'll explain everything to Lucas." But she never did. Instead, she whispered different stories into Lucas's ears. "Sophia keeps choosing work over you. I'm afraid she'll never make you her priority. Maybe she's beginning to regret saying yes." Month after month, tiny lies became enormous misunderstandings. Lucas stopped asking questions. He simply started believing them. Then one evening he invited Sophia to their favorite restaurant. She thought they were discussing honeymoon plans. Instead, he quietly slid the engagement ring across the table. "I can't marry someone who doesn't love me enough." Sophia stared at him in disbelief. "What are you talking about? You've changed." "No, Lucas. Someone has changed your opinion of me." He shook his head. "You don't even sound surprised." She reached across the table. "Look at me." He wouldn't. "I'm tired, Sophia." "Tired of what?" "Tired of fighting for someone who's already married to her career." Sophia wanted to scream. Instead she whispered one heartbreaking sentence. "I never stopped choosing you." Lucas stood. "I'm sorry." Then he walked away. 3 weeks later, Diana moved out of Sophia's house. She claimed she had found a luxury apartment downtown. Sophia helped pack every suitcase. She even hugged her goodbye. "I'll miss you." Diana kissed her forehead. "You'll always be my daughter." Another lie. Only 2 months later, every newspaper carried the same headline. Harrington heir announces engagement to elegant businesswoman Diana Bennett. Sophia stared at the photograph until her coffee grew cold. Lucas was smiling. Diana was wearing the engagement ring that had once belonged to her. She didn't cry. She couldn't. The pain had frozen into something colder. Questions. Why would Diana do something so cruel? Why Lucas? Why now? Most people believed revenge began with anger. Sophia began with research. She locked herself inside her apartment for 3 days. She searched every article ever written about the Harrington family. Company reports, court filings, historical interviews, inheritance documents. One detail refused to make sense. Lucas appeared everywhere. Magazine covers, television interviews, business conferences. He looked like the future owner of Harrington Global. But according to confidential financial records she legally accessed through public filings, he controlled less than 3% of the company's voting shares. His father owned only 6%. So who owned the rest? She kept digging. Then she found one forgotten document buried inside an old corporate restructuring report. Arthur Harrington, 76 years old. Founder. Majority shareholder. Voting control, 58%. Sophia blinked twice. Every major decision still belonged to Arthur. Not Lucas. Not his father. Not the board. The old billionaire everyone believed had retired still controlled the entire empire. Lucas wasn't the king. He was only the prince everyone could see. Arthur was the invisible king. Sophia leaned back in her chair. For the first time since her engagement ended, she smiled. She had been looking at the wrong enemy. Lucas hadn't stolen her future. Someone had been moving every piece on the board long before Lucas even realized he was being played. And if Arthur Harrington truly controlled everything, then perhaps he didn't know what was happening inside his own family. Sophia picked up her phone. She searched one final name. Arthur Harrington's executive assistant. Her finger hovered over the call button. "This," she whispered to herself, "is where the Betrayal story begins." She pressed dial. On the other side of the city, inside a private office on the top floor of Harrington Global, an elderly billionaire looked at the message his assistant had just placed before him. His eyes narrowed. "Who?" Arthur asked quietly. "Is Sophia Bennett?" The assistant answered carefully. "She's the woman your grandson abandoned." Arthur remained silent for several seconds. Then, to everyone's surprise, he smiled. "Schedule the meeting." No one in the room realized that one simple decision had just set in motion the collapse of one of the richest families in the country. Before Sophia reached the top floor of Harrington Global, she had already been stopped 3 times by security. The chairman doesn't accept unexpected visitors. "I have an appointment." The chairman doesn't meet strangers. "He asked for me." The 4th guard checked his earpiece, listened for a moment, then stepped aside. "Mr. Harrington is waiting." The doors opened into a spacious office overlooking the entire city. Arthur Harrington stood by the window with his hands behind his back. He didn't turn around immediately. "So," he said, "you're the woman who walked into my grandson's wedding." Sophia remained composed. "And you're the man everyone believes retired." Arthur finally faced her. His sharp eyes studied every expression on her face. "Most people come here asking for money." "I'm not most people. What do you want?" Sophia placed a leather folder on his desk. I want 10 minutes. If I refuse, you'll lose an opportunity. Arthur raised an eyebrow. You negotiate boldly. I learned that surviving betrayal leaves very little room for fear. For the first time in years, Arthur chuckled. Sit. Sophia opened the folder. Inside were architectural drawings, financial projections, land assessments, and a detailed plan. I've spent 5 years designing children's healthcare facilities, she began. Your company owns abandoned properties across the country. Most have been empty for over a decade. Instead of letting them decay, they could become pediatric treatment centers. Arthur remained silent. She continued. The project would improve healthcare, strengthen your public image, create jobs, and generate long-term value. You researched our unused assets? I researched everything. Arthur slowly turned the pages. You came here after your fiancé left you. I came here after discovering my life had been manipulated. You don't hate Lucas? Sophia looked him directly in the eye. Hate wastes time. And Diana? A brief silence filled the room. I trusted her like a mother. Arthur nodded thoughtfully. That betrayal hurts more. Sophia didn't answer. She didn't need to. Arthur could already see the pain behind her calm expression. He closed the folder. You still haven't asked me to punish anyone. Because punishment without truth changes nothing. Arthur leaned back. You've surprised me. If all I wanted was revenge, I would have walked into that wedding screaming. Instead, I started asking questions. Arthur pressed a button on his desk. Cancel my afternoon meetings. His assistant looked stunned. Sir. All of them. Every one. Yes, Chairman. Arthur looked back at Sophia. You now have the rest of my afternoon. If this story is keeping you guessing, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and tell us in the comments what you think Arthur will do next. For 3 hours, they discussed business instead of betrayal. Healthcare. Education. Corporate responsibility. Leadership. When Sophia finally stood to leave, Arthur said quietly, One last question. She turned. If Lucas came back tomorrow and begged you to forgive him, would you? Sophia smiled sadly. I don't miss the man I loved. Arthur frowned. I miss the man I thought he was. Then she walked away. Arthur remained standing long after the elevator doors closed. His attorney, Rebecca Collins, entered moments later. You canceled your schedule for her? Arthur handed her the proposal. Read it. Rebecca spent several minutes turning pages. This is impressive. It is. But that's not why you're interested. Arthur looked toward the city skyline. No. What is it then? I've met thousands of ambitious people. And very few choose purpose over revenge. Rebecca closed the folder. What would you like me to investigate? Everything. About the proposal? About Sophia Bennett? Rebecca smiled. I already started. Arthur looked surprised. I assumed you would. Over the next week, Rebecca quietly uncovered facts no newspaper had ever reported. Sophia had personally paid every debt left behind after her father's death. She refused to declare bankruptcy even when friends advised her to. She volunteered twice a week at a children's rehabilitation center. She anonymously funded surgeries for 2 siblings whose parents couldn't afford treatment. She had never spoken publicly against Lucas. Not once. Rebecca placed the report on Arthur's desk. You were right. About what? She isn't pretending. Arthur slowly nodded. I know. Meanwhile, across town, Diana sat inside the Harrington mansion drinking tea with Lucas. A housekeeper entered nervously. Madam. Chairman Arthur requested copies of all financial records from the last 15 years. Diana nearly dropped her cup. What? He specifically requested records involving charitable foundations and historical acquisitions. Lucas frowned. That's strange. Diana forced a smile. I'm sure it's routine. But the moment the housekeeper left, the smile disappeared. She immediately walked onto the balcony and dialed a number from memory. A man's voice answered. I told you never to call me. We have a problem. What happened? Arthur is investigating. A long silence followed. Impossible. He met Sophia. Another silence. Then the man spoke quietly. If Arthur starts asking questions about 20 years ago, he can't. He must not. The call ended. Diana stood frozen. For the first time in years, genuine fear crept into her eyes. Back at Harrington Global, Arthur unlocked a private safe hidden behind an old painting. Inside were several dusty files he hadn't opened in decades. One folder carried a familiar name. Michael Bennett. Arthur stared at it for several moments before opening it. Letters. Contracts. Old photographs. One picture showed Arthur shaking hands with a younger Michael beside the foundation stone of Harrington Children's Hospital, a project that had never been completed. Arthur whispered, "You kept your promise." Another document caught his attention. A partnership agreement. Unsigned. Because someone had cancelled the project just days before construction began. Rebecca looked over his shoulder. I checked the archives. And every record connected to Michael Bennett disappears after that year. Arthur's expression hardened. People don't accidentally disappear from company history. Rebecca slowly placed another document beside the photograph. I found something else. Arthur picked it up. It was an internal authorization signed years earlier. The signature authorizing the cancellation wasn't Michael's. It wasn't Arthur's either. It belonged to Diana Bennett. Arthur's eyes narrowed. How could she authorize this? Rebecca answered quietly. She couldn't. Unless someone gave her authority they should never have given. Arthur closed the file. Bring me every document connected to Diana. There are thousands. Then don't sleep until you've read everyone. That evening, Sophia received an unexpected phone call. Miss Bennett. Speaking. This is Arthur Harrington. She stood from her chair. Good evening. I have another proposal. I'm listening. It isn't about business. A brief silence followed. I believe your father's death, and the destruction of your engagement, may be connected by something much older than either of us imagined. Sophia's heartbeat quickened. Arthur continued. If I'm right. He paused. Then we've both been fighting shadows while someone else has been controlling the light. Sophia tightened her grip on the phone. What do we do now? Arthur's answer came without hesitation. We uncover the truth. Neither of them realized that, at that very moment, someone was watching Sophia's apartment from a black sedan parked across the street. As the unknown driver lowered a camera after taking several photographs, he made a brief phone call. They've started working together. A cold voice replied. Then it's time to make sure neither of them lives long enough to finish. Sophia dropped the phone onto the table and rushed to the window. The black sedan was already disappearing into the night. She memorized the license plate anyway. The next morning, Arthur's security team confirmed what she feared. The plate was cloned, one investigator reported. Whoever followed you knew exactly how to disappear. Arthur looked at Sophia. I underestimated how desperate our enemies are. Sophia folded her arms. Then we stop reacting. What do you suggest? We force them to make mistakes. Arthur smiled. Now you're thinking like someone who belongs in this family. 3 days later, Arthur invited Sophia to his private estate. Rebecca spread dozens of documents across a long conference table. We traced Diana's financial history. Sophia leaned closer. And she didn't become wealthy after marrying into the Harrington family. Arthur nodded. She was already receiving millions years before anyone knew her. Rebecca slid another document forward. The money came through shell companies. Sophia frowned. Owned by whom? We still don't know. Arthur sighed. Someone has been financing Diana for decades. Rebecca revealed another file. We also confirmed something else. She looked directly at Sophia. Your father's accident wasn't investigated properly. Sophia's breathing slowed. What are you saying? The brake failure report was rewritten. Arthur's expression darkened. The original report disappeared. Rebecca placed a photocopy on the table. A mechanic reported evidence that the brake line had been deliberately cut. Silence filled the room. Sophia stared at the page until her vision blurred. My father. Arthur gently placed a hand over hers. We don't know who ordered it. But someone wanted him dead. Arthur nodded slowly. I'm afraid so. Tears gathered in Sophia's eyes. She quickly wiped them away. I'm done crying. Arthur looked at her with quiet admiration. What are you going to do? She lifted her head. I'm going to finish what my father never had the chance to. Arthur stood. So am I. 2 weeks later, every major news outlet carried the same headline. Billionaire founder Arthur Harrington marries Sophia Bennett in private ceremony. The country erupted. Television hosts debated it. Business analysts speculated. Social media exploded. Lucas nearly dropped his phone when he saw the headline. This can't be real. Diana grabbed the phone from him. The color drained from her face. No. Lucas looked at her. You knew. She couldn't answer. For the first time, fear overwhelmed her confidence. If you're enjoying every twist in this story, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and leave a comment below. Would you have accepted Arthur's proposal if you were Sophia? 3 weeks later, the Harrington family's annual charity gala began. Every member of the family attended. So did politicians, judges, foreign investors. Television cameras lined the entrance. Lucas stood beside Diana, pretending nothing had changed. Then the ballroom doors opened. Arthur entered first. Beside him walked Sophia. The room fell silent. The master of ceremonies smiled nervously. Please welcome Chairman Arthur Harrington and Mrs. Sophia Harrington. The title echoed through the ballroom. Mrs. Harrington. Diana clenched her jaw. Sophia greeted guests with quiet confidence. She wasn't trying to embarrass anyone. Her presence alone was enough. When she reached Diana, she smiled politely. Good evening. Diana forced a smile. I don't know what game you're playing. Sophia answered calmly. I stopped playing games the day you stole my family. Lucas finally spoke. Sophia, can we talk? Arthur stepped forward. My wife doesn't owe either of you a private conversation. Lucas lowered his eyes. He suddenly realized the balance of power had completely changed. Arthur addressed the guests. I have an announcement. The ballroom became silent once more. Beginning today, the Harrington Children's Foundation will receive the largest charitable investment in our company's history. Applause filled the room. Arthur continued. The foundation will be led by my wife, Sophia Harrington. The applause grew louder. Several board members immediately stood to congratulate her. Diana watched everything she had spent years building begin slipping away. She quietly excused herself and hurried toward the parking area. She never noticed Rebecca watching from across the room. Rebecca immediately whispered into her radio. She's leaving. Arthur's security team followed at a safe distance. An hour later, Rebecca returned carrying a small evidence box. We searched the storage unit Diana visited. Sophia looked inside. There were old passports, multiple driver's licenses, bank records, marriage certificates under different names. Arthur opened a faded envelope. Inside was a photograph taken more than 25 years earlier. His late wife stood smiling beside Michael Bennett. Standing behind them was Diana, much younger, watching them. Arthur's hands trembled. She knew us before any of us realized. Rebecca nodded. And there's more. She handed Arthur another document. It appears Diana wasn't your grandson's first target. Sophia looked confused. What do you mean? Rebecca took a deep breath. According to these records, Diana deliberately entered the lives of several wealthy families over the last 30 years. Arthur slowly closed the file. This wasn't greed. No. It was a mission. Just then, Arthur's phone rang. He answered immediately. This is Arthur. A detective spoke urgently. Chairman, we've located Diana. Where? She was there 1 minute. And now? She's gone. Arthur frowned. What happened? Someone reached her before we did. Sophia felt a chill. So someone is protecting her. The detective hesitated. There's something else. What? We found one of her bodyguards unconscious. What did he say? He kept repeating the same sentence before he lost consciousness. Arthur tightened his grip on the phone. What sentence? Tell Arthur. The architect has returned. Arthur froze. Rebecca's eyes widened. Sophia looked from one face to the other. Who is the architect? Arthur slowly sat down. His voice became almost a whisper. The one person I prayed was dead. The room fell completely silent. Rebecca looked horrified. I thought no one else knew about him. Arthur stared at the old photograph. We were wrong. Sophia's heartbeat pounded in her ears. So Diana wasn't the mastermind. Arthur slowly shook his head. No. He looked directly at Sophia. She was only the door. Outside the ballroom, a luxury car disappeared into the darkness. Inside, a man wearing black leather gloves smiled as he examined another faded photograph. On the back were 5 handwritten words. Phase 1 has been completed. The man slipped the photograph back into its envelope and looked toward the glittering city skyline. Arthur, he whispered with a cold smile. This time, I'm taking everything. Back inside the ballroom, Sophia stood beside Arthur and looked at the family surrounding them. Only hours earlier, she believed justice was finally within reach. Now she understood the truth. The battle for the Harrington Empire had only just begun. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe for more gripping billionaire romance dramas filled with shocking twists, unforgettable betrayals, and satisfying revenge. Leave a comment below and tell us, who do you think the architect really is? Don't forget to like this video, and we'll see you in the next unforgettable story.